As we are continuing with the 1 million emergency fund challenge, I wanted us to talk about one of the biggest financial mistakes that we make, which is judging our financial well-being or judging our financial wealth based on external stuff such as the car we drive, the kind of phone somebody is using, the kind of clothes somebody wears, the kind of shoes they have. What else? If somebody has the latest phone, the neighborhood that you live in, how big the house that you live in. While all those things are good, right? Because it's nice to have a nice car, it's nice to have nice clothes. That is not a good measure, or that is not how you should tell how well you're doing financially or how well someone is doing financially. And I'm addressing this because I've also seen it in terms of when people are choosing their partners, their marriage partners, for example. And so you'll see, someone who's driving a Mercedes Benz, and you think, this one is a good candidate, for them to become my husband, my wife, or my partner, right? And the problem is that is not a good way to tell how financially wealthy or how financially healthy somebody is. And what is a good way to know how healthy you are or how healthy someone is financially? One way is by asking that person, or by asking yourself, what is your net worth? What is your net worth? And what is net worth? How do you calculate your net worth? Rather, your net worth is your assets minus your liabilities, right? So your assets minus liabilities. And what is an asset? An asset is anything that is financially valuable. It can be a bond that you bought, money you have in your bank account, money you have invested in a money market fund, money you have invested in a real estate investment trust, a plot of land, right? That is an asset, something that is financially valuable. And so you take an Excel sheet and make a list of, or you take even a notebook, right, and make a list of all the financially viable stuff that you own, or any assets that you own, right? You make a list of them, and then you add the total. So let's say, for example, you have a plot of land worth 300,000, you bought a bond for 1 million shillings, you have 300,000 in REITs, so you make a list, and let's assume that you have 4 million of financial assets. So that is step one. Steps two, you go ahead, and as I said, your net worth is your assets minus your liabilities. And then step two is make a list of your liabilities, and your liabilities can be any form of debt that you're carrying or any arrears that you have, right? So let's say school fees arrears, rental arrears, any arrears. Let's say you owe the shopkeeper next door. Those are arrears that you have, right? And then any form of debt, let's say credit card debt, you have a circle loan, you have a debt with your bank. So once you make a list of all your debts, let's say your debts are worth 3 million, for example, right? So in this case, if your assets were 4 million and your liabilities are 3 million, so you do 4 million minus 3 million is equals 1 million. So in this case, this person has a positive net worth, right? And so because they have a positive net worth, it's a good thing to have a positive net worth. And it's the same case where if this person had 4 million in assets and then they have 4 million in liabilities, 4 million minus 4 million is equals 0. That is still a positive net worth. So the goal here should be to have a positive net worth. And let's flip it, and let's say this person had 4 million in liabilities and they have 3 million in assets. So it's going to be that this person has a negative, right? Because 3 million minus 4 million is equals negative 1 million. Now in this case, you will have a negative 1 million in liabilities. And so when you know that you're in the negative, it means that you need to do something, right? You need to do something in order to improve your financial health. And so in this case, what would this person need to do in order to improve their financial health? This person would need to, example, get rid of their debt, right? Or work towards reducing their debt, because the more you reduce your liabilities, the more your net worth grows, right? And so you can do it at the same time. You work towards reducing your liabilities, and at the same time you work towards growing your assets. Literally, I tell my financial coaching clients that every month you should work towards growing your net worth. That is one financial responsibility that you have. You should be working towards growing your net worth. At the end of the month, you should ask yourself, by how much did I grow my net worth this month? So by how much did you grow your net worth in February, for example? And again, growing your net worth is by reducing your liabilities, increasing your financial assets. So that is one of the most proper ways to judge how well somebody is doing financially. Why is it important to work on growing your net worth, or why is it important to judge somebody's financial health using their net worth? It's because your net worth is a measure of your long-term financial solvency. And what do we mean by this? We mean that this is an indicator of how well you're able to solve your financial obligations, of how well you're able to meet your financial obligations in the long term, right? Remember that example that I was giving, right? So imagine somebody's situation where this person has like 7 million in financial assets, right? And they only have like 2 million in debt or 2 million in liabilities. This means that this person, in the long term, they are able to meet their financial obligations, which is a beautiful place to be, as opposed to thinking that, oh, because this person drives a Mercedes, or because this person has good watches, or because this person has the latest iPhone. No, that is not how to judge somebody's financial wellness. The best way is by asking them, what is your net worth? The second way to judge your financial wellness, or to tell if somebody is financially healthy, is by asking them, what is your net cash flow, right? And how do you calculate someone's net cash flow, or how do you calculate your own financial your net cash flows? Is by subtracting your income, or is by subtracting your expenses from your income. So yes, and if you want to know that you're really you're very financially healthy, is the gap between your income and your expenses should be very high, right? So somebody is financially healthy if, for example, somebody is earning 100,000 and their expenses are 80,000, so their net cash flow in this case is 20,000. But imagine a person who earns 100,000 but their expenses are 99,000, right? The difference in this case is only 1,000 bob. So this person is in a very, very tight fix, right? And so I'm saying here that your gap between your income and your expenses should be as high as possible. And actually, this is what it means when people say that you're living within your means, or you're living below your means, right? So the gap should be as high as possible, so that you live below your income, below your means. And your net cash flow is a measure of your short-term solvency. You remember I said that your net worth is a measure of your long-term solvency. Yes, so your net cash flow is a measure when you calculate it month to month. Now your net cash flow is a measure of your short-term solvency. So your net cash flow is, in other terms, or without using jargon, is simply a measure of how well can you meet your financial obligations when they fall due, right? So how well can you pay off your debt? How well can you pay your rent? How well can you meet your financial obligations when they are due? So you see, so when you know your net worth, you'll be able to know how financially healthy are you in the long term. And when you know your net cash flow, you'll be able to know how healthy are you financially in the short term. So those are the two measures. So it's not about which car somebody drives, which neighborhood somebody lives in, because I have met so many people who live in very good neighborhoods, but their net worth is in the negative. Why? For example, they are financing their lifestyle with debt. Those are the two ways to measure your financial wellness or your financial health. One of the most important takeaways from this video is how important your financial solvency is, right? And your financial solvency is literally your ability to meet your financial obligations, both in the short term and in the long term. And again, this is very, very important, because almost on a daily basis, I interact with very many people who are asset rich and cash poor, right? So you'll meet somebody, for example, who has many loads of land, many pieces of unproductive land, right? But if that person is hit by a 20,000 emergency bill, that person is not able to meet that financial obligation. So yeah, so the next time you meet somebody and you feel tempted to make a conclusion that they must be very rich because they drive car X, or they must be very rich because they have the latest iPhone, or they must be very rich because they live in the leafy suburbs, ask yourself, do you know their net worth? No, most of the time you do not know. And when it comes to evaluating your own financial wellness, do not judge yourself. Do not think you're doing well financially because of the neighborhood that you're living in, the car that you're driving, the kind of jewelry that you have. Ask yourself, what is your net worth? How many assets do you have? How much debt are you carrying? Subtract the two, and then ask yourself, based on the income that you make per month, right? How big are your expenses? And when you subtract the two, how much breathing room do you have? Those are the only two best ways to judge how healthy someone is financially.